Hello, everybody. Are you there, Warren? Thanks, Travis. Well, hello, everyone. Hi, Warren.
Hey, Jasmin, how are you?
Fabulous. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you.
What a beautiful day today in Perth, Western Australia.
Yeah, well, it's been cold, but it's. I mean, we've been living in the Ice Age winter, haven't we? So it's been interesting.
Yeah, absolutely. I've been saying all day I'm cold, but when you're out in the sun, it's quite nice.
Yeah, it gets warmer in 2 days' time, which I'm pleased to hear. I wouldn't mind a bit of a break. So
Me too. Me too. If you want to put in the chat box where you're actually tuning in from tonight, that'd be awesome. We love to see where everyone is from.
well, the world is.
Let's have a look. Where are we all from? Okay. Well, while we're doing that, I'll do a nice introduction and just say who we are, just in case you are new to the Tuesday webinars. So I'm Jasmin, and I'm from the Global Wealth Club, and this is Warren Black, the star, the front
I don't know
man.
about that, but hi, everyone.
You'll take it. Tonight is a Q&A, and our topic is the Great Reset. And also, we can't miss the opportunity to let everyone know and also discuss our up-and-coming event, which will be live on the 23rd of October in person in Perth. We will actually be coming together at the Pan Pacific. This is an all-day event, and we will be covering wealth and asset protection. So, and then also, it will also be online for everyone else where you are in Australia. So you'll be able to watch live. You'll also get a replay. And I cannot stress enough, if you have not got a ticket to this event, if there's one thing you need to do tonight is absolutely enroll yourself. This is the time to take action. This is the time where we have, Warren and the team, and we've got some guest speakers to really help direct us with some decision making and to educate yourself. So our lovely team will post the link below about our event coming up on the 23rd. So stay tuned, and we'll just get into a few questions tonight. And Warren, is there anything you want to expand on, particularly around our event while we're here, and then we can get into some questions?
Look, generally, of course, I think that what this is showing right now is what's going on in Australia and the world is that anything can pretty much happen in the next little while. Yeah. I was telling my private group the other day, I said I expect this year's been an entree, and I think next year's going to be a main course. So I think people have got to get ready for a lot of stuff, and I'm definitely expecting some financial volatility and in the next coming while. And yeah, look, I mean, if governments can basically lock people down over the flu virus, one can only imagine what they can do to people over their finances. And what's interesting, Jasmin, is in Sovereign Individual that was done in 1995, they predicted as part of the transition age where the world would break up from big, large countries into smaller kind of groups, which would be really great. Mm-hmm. They said that there will be a bit of a tumultuous period that would hit, and they gave a list of events that would happen, and all of them happened exactly like they said. And pretty much if you follow the blueprint of that book, the next things you can expect is, and so far the book's been bang on accurate, is you're going to see the following. You're going to see governments become virtual crime gangs and just start stealing people's money, and they won't even try and hide it or dress it up that much, a bit like they've been openly scamming the people with their health. And the other thing they said is that, they said you can expect as well money controls and things like that coming in. So all this stuff they're showing signs about, they're talking about changing laws about residency. I'm hoping that people will, enough people will be wise enough to take action quickly. Experience of humanity tells me that vast majority of people will hear it, freeze up and not take action. But yeah, I'm trusting that, those who are listening here and coming along are serious about taking action and doing something about it. So I think that governments have got some lovely little plans ahead for people's money, and I have got some pretty good inside information on that too. So
yeah, absolutely. So Warren, why are there so many people in denial about what's happening, and why are we seeing such a distance to the facts? Because it's like we're living in two realities. We've got one side which we can clearly see, if you want to read data, if you want to really know what's going on, it's there in your face. But for some reason, we have this whole bunch of people in the world who really are living in denial. They're pretending that everything's normal. Why are we seeing this, and why are we seeing one side, and why are they seeing the other? Because it's quite strange right now to be out in public with people.
Yeah, well, I'm seeing this big divergence. I mean, I was out with someone yesterday who's a fitness instructor, and they're scared crapless of the virus. So talking to them, and I was really working to engage and understand their perspective, because that was literally all they're concerned about. And there's someone I've done sessions with, and interestingly, it was an interesting discussion. And one of the things when you study human nature, and as you know, Jasmin, in my events, I'm a big student of history. I've been in the underground movement of world history and civilizations, and generally certain things keep on happening. And if you want to get the best comparison to, I think, what's going to end up eventually, you can look no further than Venezuela, which pretty much has followed the same blueprint. That was a very prosperous place, and they rigged an election in 2014, and then 4 years later, the whole thing just turned to shit. And so that's why my prediction is, I reckon around 2024, 25 is when we're going to start seeing the beginnings of a lot of the worst of it, maybe 2026. And quite possibly some significant volatility before that. In terms of the divergence, what Venezuela showed, which is what everything shows, is there's four types of people with anything in life. Number one is those who make things happen, the real small minority, the movers and shakers. There's those who who follow the movers and shakers and support them when they go along, and they're also minority. Then you've got those who watch things happen but never take any action and just kind of watch, which is a big majority. Then a very big majority is what the fuck just happened. That's the fourth one. So generally, you're going to be having people. The third category of the denial category is going to be probably the biggest one. I used to get very bewildered why, when I'd run webinars, people wouldn't take action. Now I just know that'll happen, because most people don't like to do things that are difficult. Like most people, for example, they know they've got weight they want to drop, and then you go, oh, yeah, if you change your diet and do exercise, that's too hard, and they won't do it. Or standing up to Aunt Mary, or dealing with some emotional stuff, or dealing with an issue of a relationship. Most people just prefer to avoid it and just pretend it's not happening. So imagine they're like that in their general life, and then you've got a situation where you've got a mafia crime government who they know can cause them real harm to their business, they can lock them up, and standing up to them, they've got no chance, like absolutely no chance. The best chance they've got is being keyboard warriors on Facebook and writing these, I hate lockdowns, and here's a new video on this kind of stuff, just to help them go. I'm hardly watching news much these days at the moment. I'm just getting on with life and thinking, well, I'm under no illusions. I think we're heading for some very challenging times next year. I think that a lot of places, regardless of what the government does, and this was my prediction last year, 18 months ago, I said, regardless of what the governments do, and I doubt they'll mandate, everything for everyone, but except for Victoria, which has completely lost the plot. But even if they don't, most businesses are going to do it anyway for them, like the big mining companies. And then I know already, talking to Pilates and fitness studios, they're exactly doing that same thing. They're already saying they're going to bring that into their studio next year to be, COVID safe. So, yeah, unfortunately, the issue, I'm not so fussed about the government. I'm fussed about the idiots that I live with. So most of my time is actually learning to coexist with a society of idiots. And so that's why I just focus on teaching the people who want to listen to what I've got to say, doing my work, living my dream and my mission, enjoying life, and just staying idiot-free as much as possible.
Yeah, couldn't agree with you more. Now, if you actually have a look at the Great Reset, I mean, a lot of people think that they hear about it and they know, but what does it really mean? Is it just finances? Is it is it everything, like our cars? I mean, are they going to be coming for everything? Because a lot of people have a lot of worries and they don't know how to protect their assets. They don't know what to do. And especially, as you know, Warren, there are a lot of people out there that just put fear and propaganda around this, and they don't give any practical solutions.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I know we're going to be covering that a lot on October 23rd. But what does the Great Reset really mean? And looking at Australia, what could it look like for you and I?
Well, again, going back to Venezuela, going back to Germany, going back to Argentina's collapse in 1978, Germany 1923, many of these places. So imagine this scenario, like America's seeing small signs of this now. Like governments start printing money because they just don't have the money to meet expenses, and rather than just accepting that, hey, sorry, we can't pay your expenses anymore, they're like, hey, let's just give everyone an income because then they'll love us. And so they do that, but someone's got to pay for it. Now, either they can earn it, they can steal it and beat the fuck out of people, or a smarter way of doing it is they just print money, and then most of the silly people go, oh, they can just print money. But the thing is, our money system is all illusory. It depends on confidence. So the like right now, the reason the Australian dollar is afloat is people believe it works. So if I go to my Peaches, they'll take it. I mean, only very few shops will take my Bitcoin, but they'll take my cash. Yeah. Most of them won't take if I walked up and offered them a barter, something like massage services for something else, they probably won't take that, but they'll take my cash. So the thing is that while that happens, the dollar actually works. Now, in US, you've got prices soaring because people are going, well, hang on a sec, if the government's just printing all this money, but my money's worth less, I've got to put my prices up. So you put their prices up and you get hyperinflation where it just goes and goes up. And America's had 28% inflation increase this year and not reporting in most essential services. Costs of essential supplies have doubled because, there's just more demand, there's this kind of stuff. So when all this stuff starts happening, what do? Well, the money, when it gets really bad, like Zimbabwe 30 years ago or 40 years ago, people walking with a wheelbarrow full of notes just to buy a loaf of bread. This was happening in Argentina, Venezuela. And eventually, when you got complete social mayhem, the government have got no choice in a fictitious reserve currency but to reset it in some form. And every 90 years on average, they've reset the currency. Yeah. And every 45 years, they do a partial reset. And about 1971, they did a partial reset, so it's 50 years, so it's slightly overdue. 1933, they did a reset with the Great Depression. So, we're due for one. So every 90 years, a fictitious currency system like this just breaks down. So financial reset just simply means that the government goes, okay, it's not working anymore. We are just going to start again. And you wake up one day and you're 250 grand cash in the bank, but you think it's worth a bit. In hyperinflation, that might just buy you a loaf of bread. So then the government goes, okay, and most people wouldn't have moved their money into offshore currencies or into gold and silver or cryptos or diversified and been wise about their money. So just like that bank, they wake up, their money's gone, and they're waiting to see what the government's going to give them to start again, because they'll say, oh, look, we'll just give you, a bit of money to start again and a universal basic income. And that's really what I think a more sinister group behind want, because then they can really control people and say, unless you go and get your needles shoved up you, or you go and do this or go and do that, you basically, we're not going to give you this, or you're not going to get your income. And unfortunately, most people, I think that will be their lot unless there's some fundamental change, because, so a reset just simply means they've got to fix the currency and start again. Now, I think anyway they've got to do a reset of some kind at some stage, because they're going to move more digital currency. Yeah. Now, in an ideal world, if things were done properly and it was well managed, they would repurpose the currency. They would just simply move it online, have a digital Australian dollar, and by and large things would move on. But I think you'll find that, there'll eventually be some kind of reset of some kind, which will just simply mean your money and what it's worth, because it's all illusory. Like 10 million rupees in Indonesia will barely buy you anything, whereas Australia, $10 million would buy you a lot. So just understanding these are all figures that are made up. Like 50 years ago, you could buy a property for like 50 grand, whereas now, I mean, you wouldn't get, you get a dog box for $500,000. So it's just understanding how money actually works. They're talking about this great reset. I think it's going to work for governments really well. I was given inside information in 2019, but the pollies were freaking out because I knew the economy was due for a collapse, and they were trying to work out a way to not look bad and how to manage the whole thing when it happened, because I knew this was coming. Yeah. So I think partly the pandemic, which they made up, and I think partly other stuff. So, I think that a resets have been happening since Kingdom Come, like a financial reset, to reset the ledger and start again, like a game of Monopoly. But most people, because they rely on the health system, that's why they're caught with this COVID thing. And because they rely on the financial system, an Australian dollar or whatever, the one thing that Australia has been cushioned from till now is we've actually managed our economy economically really well compared to other countries. Like, we survived the GFC because very, very good management by basically Costello leading up to it, and John Howard, and then the government after that. Whatever else anyone thinks of ScoMo, and I think he certainly hasn't done either the best, most fair job in the way he's managed this whole pandemic. But there's no question that economically he's done a marvellous job. I mean, and just about anyone I speak to, even doesn't like him, concede that. Now, compared to other countries, we've been far less affected by this whole thing that's happening because he's managed it relatively well, and I think found a good balance between socialism and government help and keeping people capitalist. But if ScoMo loses the next election, and I think that's a real possibility, and Labor get in, Labor are well known for, I think that, all bets are off. I think that most high net worth people will be moving. So most high net worth people are already been moving money out long ago. Yeah. And making sure you've got diversified assets to protect yourself. Long-winded answer, but I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, no, that's great. And Warren, did you see what happened in Lebanon this week? The blackout? Have you heard?
I heard something about it. Just tell me more about it again.
So basically, some of their massive powerhouses, that they've had power outages, so they're literally in the dark, and they've been in the dark for a few days now, for several days. So yeah, I was just wondering if you've heard anything about that, or if there's something that is.
I don't read the news a lot, so I heard something that happened in Lebanon. Someone told me about it.
Yeah.
But I didn't get the full story. So.
Okay.
Yeah, but Lebanon, look, I mean, blackouts and things like that is always a bit of a concern. Because again, keep in mind that if you think about our lifestyle, Jasmin, I mean, we really are a bunch of idiots in Australia. We're a convict colony, but by and large is still a British colony. The Constitution is owned by the Queen, and we actually are. We are completely dependent on an electricity grid, on a water supply, on the shopping system, on all that. I mean, if the wrong people get in charge of all that system, which has now happened, people are very vulnerable. There's no question. I think it's a vulnerable time. And the best way to handle a difficult situation is not mince words and then deal with it, but then take action and really, really take action on your finances. And so I've taken radical action on my finances. I've done it on my health. I've done it on every area of my life. I've just been really, really radical for that reason.
Yeah, absolutely. It's a time to be radical. I mean, everything that's happening, we have mandates continuously happening. My sister's lost her job this morning.
Oh, really?
Yeah, just completely. I mean, and also just so everyone knows, I'm pretty sure we did have quite a few different exemptions available in Australia, and they've recently changed it to one. You have one exemption now, and you basically have to take the first shot to be still exempt, because you have to have an anaphylactic reaction to that first shot. So, when we say we're coming up a lot against, evil and a really hard time, we absolutely are. We're not saying that, it's just so easy to get through this. No, it's not. But you have to be above the line with your thinking and be proactive. So this is why Warren and the team have invested so much time and been preparing for such a long time, because we must do this. We have to do it. So we definitely want to get into some questions. I know there's so many questions that have come through, and thank you for everyone letting us know where you're all from, which is all around Australia. That's beautiful. We love it. Okay, so let's get into the first question, Warren, because I know you tend to really like to go into detail with your answers. Okay, so the first one here is, when are we expecting the market to crash?
Well, I'll get my crystal ball. Hold on. No, I don't. I don't know. I can guess, and based on numbers and calculations and things like that, I'm surprised it hasn't happened already, but they've managed to keep it afloat with lots of money printing. So, look, I'm expecting it, I reckon around 23, 24, 25, like I said, somewhere about onwards. I think there's going to be volatility next year, but I think that if you are in the right things, we could actually see a lot of gains next year, because hyperinflation can drive things up. So we're preparing for a bit of a bull run for now in what we're doing in our global wealth investment sort of club. But Yeah, look, we're definitely going to be heading for that. And there'll be levels of crash happening leading up to it. Like, I mean, the Great Depression didn't just have one big crash and that was it. It happened over 4 years in bits and pieces, like a stock market. There was this, there was that. I think the big thing that will happen is that more likely than not, they'll drive interest rates up. If you follow the Great Depression, that will send gains to all-time highs, even more so than they are now. This is just purely my guess or prediction, and I'm not even sure I'm right, but this is what I've worked out. We'll have what's called a melt-up final wave, which we've already been for a while. But when it ends, it will end very suddenly and ugly, and the markets will melt down in a major way. And once they really melt down, it'll be, it'll be on for young and old. There'll be bloodbaths. And we're already seeing things like supply chains and fuel shortages and all that. So I think there are different levels of it happening. So there'll be some major speculative gains, but I think in the background, I'm already seeing things like offices shutting down everywhere, like empty cafes, empty shops. The full impact of basically locking down hasn't hit yet. So we'll be having like divergent economic things. There'll be economic realities of some that will prosper, do very well. Certain markets will soar, but a lot of things in the background will fall apart. That's my prediction.
Yeah, I agree.
And eventually they'll get so severe they'll suggest a reset and we'll go from there.
Wow. Okay. Yep. Okay, I'm expecting a fair amount in assets after my divorce. How do I best protect it from devaluing?
Yeah, that's a long question to answer. We'll cover a lot of that in the event, obviously, but look, like anything, what we teach in our events, and we're learning the next couple of ones about balanced portfolio, just really wise, diversified, balanced spread, because no one knows what's going to last. I mean, cash might last much longer than people think. Gold may not work because the government may order everyone to give their gold up or they'll shoot you. I mean, anything's possible. So that's why you spread your risk.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so real estate prices are holding steady in Perth. Do you see this lasting much longer?
Oh, property's a weird market. That's probably the only prediction last year I got horribly wrong. But then again, property is something I'm terrible at. I'm naturally not a practical guy, and so property's been the one thing I really find I don't know what I'm doing that well when it comes to predicting markets. But people that I've spoken to recently who I thought last year would do a big crash, and but since that time, people I've spoken to are really good with property predictions who were getting it pretty accurate. Yeah. They all seem to think that we're heading for there'll be obviously a pullback on all of it in the next little while, especially as they increase interest rates. But yeah, at some stage, property will have its own little correctional crash. But yeah, well, for whatever reason, people are craving security. So I think like anything depends where you buy it. Property is one of these things that government can easily grab as well. But yeah, I think properties, it seems to be holding right now, and I think that people still seem to keep wanting it.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, so an allodial title is the term Warren mentioned last week. Could you please clarify if you meant that you can only have one outside Australia or only in South Australia?
Absolutely no idea what you're talking about, but I can talk about allodial title. Allodial title simply means that you have pure ownership, without government. It's like pure ownership. That's all that means. So Australia, you don't have allodial title. It's basically freehold, which means the government owns it and gives it to you under what's called the Crown's discretion. So we're a feudalist society, prison colony. So allodial title is a pure title where you own it outright. And there are places in the world that's got that, but Australia, UK, America, definitely not one of them.
Okay, great. We have 3 farms, have put one on the market this month to enable us to pay our debts and mortgages. Keen to learn from the event on the 23rd. What are your suggestions about our trusts, owning land without having to hand it over to the government?
Yeah, we'll be covering a lot of that on the event because farmland obviously is very popular right now because it's it's less likely people think to be taken by the government. Trust can be a very good way to do it, but it depends on the state you're living in because some states you can cause land tax problems, things like that. And it protects from the government within certain limits. It just depends on what the government proposed to do with it. So it does certain levels of protection, but not others. So we'll be covering all that at the event.
Okay, fabulous. So to protect our children, if their birth is registered, the government can claim that they own them. Is there a way to deregister their birth or request a long certificate or proceed with cease and desist orders? Would you know this?
No idea. There's probably other people who can teach on that.
Yeah, unfortunately, Warren's not going to be able to cover that one. So next one is my partner Rob and I are in our 60s. Rob is 66 and he has his money in a pension account. I'm self-employed, but the current situation has stifled my workload. We both have the option of removing our super from the respective accounts and investing in a safer option. We're interested in setting up a discretionary trust, but really not great at selecting investments, which will produce an income that we can draw on. Do you have any input as to how we can set this up? It's a long one.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure what you're wanting to set up. You're talking about setting up a trust. Yeah, I mean, accountants can set that up and guide you very easily.
Mm-hmm.
We do that kind of stuff to help set it up. If you're talking about selecting investments for an income, well, we're not financial planners, so we don't give investment advice, but we certainly will be educating in our November event about, options you can get which can produce income ranging from crypto staking to offshore annuities. There's all kinds of stuff which we'll teach about, which financial planners can't tell you about anyway, and they wouldn't. So yeah, we just will be educating on that stuff. For a trust setup, yeah, I mean, accountants can do that, and we do that as well.
Fabulous. I would like to know about purchasing land or property and if it will be possible to protect that purchase and how.
Yeah, that's kind of like asking, I want to buy a car, what should I buy? There's literally so many cars, secondhand, new, same deal. Like you can protect it with trusts, with foundations, with structures. There's various ways you can protect it. And then there's what's thing called second mortgages. I'll be running a live stream tomorrow night, actually, at 5:30 Perth time, and it's actually on second mortgage asset protection on properties. So I suggest, Tracy, you come to that. It's at 5:30 Perth time, which is 8:30 Sydney time. I'm specifically talking on that issue.
Yeah, great. Okay, so the Great Reset will seek to own all of us, possessions, and all I understand, and we will willingly oblige, I have read. We have a choice enough to be outside this box. Will they allow it?
Oh, I don't know.
Warren, you need to answer this.
Well, I don't know, because what I mean by that is that a great reset is a very broad term. A financial reset generally means they reset the things and start again. If you bring in full socialism or communism, they can they can literally nationalize all properties and say we own everything. Yeah. They can steal people's gold. And the sovereign individual says that could happen. My view personally is I think there's no doubt they want that. I think in an ideal world, they want to microchip everyone, have them tracked to a central computer system so they can control and monitor everything, read your thoughts and everything. That's my eventual view they're aiming for. Will they pull it off? I think in some parts of the world, I'd give them a pretty good shot. In all of the world, I'd give them no shot.
Yeah, exactly. I think she's also referring to Klaus Schwab and what he says, you will own nothing and you will be happy.
Well, that's obviously what they're aiming to get to, for sure. So, yeah.
So, Warren, just on that, do you think that they put a lot of this out so subconsciously people start to believe that and they fear that, so they allow that to happen? Because I always think of that. I'm like, well, that's what they want, but I don't want that. So collectively, we need to, push back and resist that and not allow that to happen. So,
well, you just got to realise that my rule on that kind of stuff, Jasmin, is that, yeah, that's what they're saying, but that's why I do what I do and I protect my stuff and make sure I stay very sovereign and don't have anyone tell me what to do. I don't like being told what to do. It's why, I was a very high maintenance partnership in any kind of marriage or relationships because I don't like being told what to do. And I was a solid employee, but I kept leaving, but I got out of it very quickly because I like living my own sovereign life. I like looking after my health. The secret with that kind of stuff is, if you live that and believe that in that fear, it will happen. And it's a real reality that will happen to people if they don't take action. Let's not mince words, but there are ways out of it. That's for sure.
Good. Yes. I've just sold a property and I'm looking to purchase land. How do I make sure the money I have left is safe?
Oh, that's a long question, but the event will teach you about trusts, companies, all that kind of stuff, and how to invest properly, and a balanced portfolio.
Yeah. Okay. So, can we transfer an existing property mortgaged and currently in my name into a trust to make it secure without refinancing? Is the best option to protect my family home?
It's a good question, but you'll be up for a crap load of stamp duty and other sort of stuff. That's why we're doing this, George, tomorrow. You know, we're doing this property one tomorrow on second mortgages at 5:30 Perth time, because we'll be covering another way of doing it other than transferring to a trust, because that can cost you a lot of money in stamp duty and even capital gains. So, yeah, we'll be covering that tomorrow.
Is that also you're going to cover if the house is paid off as well? Is that the same deal?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, totally.
Okay, great. All right. Can we transfer an existing property? Oh, I just asked that one. Sorry. Are you still expecting gold and silver prices to drop soon, and possibly by how much? Can you?
I don't think I've ever said that. I don't. Gold is one of these things that I more just hold for hedging long term. I think that on the balance of probabilities, in the long term, gold could go up quite a lot. But in saying that, people have been saying that for years. So, I mean, gold's just one of these things that it's at a fairly major height at the moment. I think if it breaks 2,000, it'll be going up to 3,000. That's my opinion. If it doesn't break 2,000, it'll probably retrace back to about 1,500. And I think, if anything, there is a chance it will retrace if the markets go up a lot, because people will just want to get out of gold. So gold is one of these things you just hold because it's, you know, it's a stable physical asset.
Yeah, great. Thank you so much. So how long does it take to set up a trust, and can you do it yourself without an accountant?
You can do it yourself without an accountant online, but you'd be crazy not to get some kind of advice to do it properly. And you can set them up pretty quickly, normally within a day or two.
Yeah. Okay, great. Is there a correlation between pandemics and financial crisis?
Well, I think we saw what happened last year, didn't we? And the short answer was there was a huge drop initially, but then the markets have been a bit strange. So generally, yeah, a pandemic, obviously, with lockdowns is going to damage the economy, but then it's had the opposite effect of people being at home with nothing to do or just spending online. So online businesses have gone through the roof. So, yeah, a pandemic can certainly precipitate a financial crisis. But, yeah, I think our financial crisis coming is just for many, many reasons. I mean, the whole idea of living in a city of 2 million or 5 million people and one person trying to run it is just ridiculous. You know, it's just impossible. So I think a lot of it's just the nature of the unsustainability and why we're going to head into a sovereign age where we're going to be having more smaller communities, because we're living in an unsustainable society that's going to collapse completely. It's just inevitable, as I see it.
Yeah, that's right.
So there will be. So I don't know if there's a direct correlation, but yeah, there's going to be some.
Would you say that this could be a bit of a smokescreen, you know, for all the other work in the back end to be done, because people seem to be so focused on these vaccines and researching it that they probably are not really taking notice of the financial side so much?
Well, correct. And a lot of it's just threats and carrying on and just playing on people's attachment to their way of life. And there's every possibility that once they get their 85% vaccinated, like the UK, they'll by and large open up and go on with life. You know, that's if anything. But the danger, of course, is that, like you said, these booster shots, certain, and the reason I think a lot of the businesses will enforce it as well is, let's just say, put yourself in the shoes, Jasmin, of someone who didn't want to take the jab but capitulated because they of all the pressure and coercion.
Yeah.
Deep down, they'll hate themselves for doing it. So then they'll want everyone else around them to also do it because they did it. Well, you can fucking do it too. Exactly. So I think that's where a lot of the pressure will come, is from the people who didn't want to take it. I'm noticing a lot of people that are absolutely pro-vax have been okay, really, about the whole thing with me. It's the ones that are really kind of what I call not wanting to take it, but then force themselves to take it because of their job or whatever else. That's one group, or, yeah, just people living in big fear themselves.
Yeah, absolutely. They did a survey in New South Wales and they actually asked, out of those who did take it, who felt coerced and who grudgingly, you know, took the chance to do it?
Yeah.
It was 80% plus. So, I mean, that's a number. You're thinking 80% of those who've taken it have pretty much taken it because they're under duress. So it's not good. It's not good at all.
No.
Okay, so about to start a personal side business, not expecting huge initial turnover, but if it takes off, can I change this structure midstream? Not sure what that means. Does she mean?
Yeah, you can, but I mean, you can do that if you want. I don't like that myself, and I wouldn't really advise that for your personal situation. But obviously, I'm not giving you professional advice. So, as a general comment, I think you should start in the correct structure from day one. But that's my opinion.
Yeah, right. Is there a way to protect your crypto, i.e., tax minimization, when you are leaving it on exchanges for bot trading?
Yeah, I'm not. I know how to protect it with trust and things like that, with bot trading and things like that. Yeah, my syndicate investment partner probably know that one better than me. I don't really know. I presume I know you can do it, but he does it, but I don't know how he does it. So it can be done, but I just don't know how.
Okay. Thank you. WA's economy has been thriving during the pandemic. Nonetheless, I assume we will still be affected by the reset as this is global.
Well, when you say it's a global reset, though, I mean, not everyone necessarily is all going to do the same thing. That's my first comment I'll make on that. So there's no guarantee that will happen. WA have already shown a tendency to just kind of do their own thing a little bit. And one thing about Mark McGowan, like Scott Morrison, is an exceptional economic manager. I mean, he's just done a remarkable job in WA. And because of that, WA stayed relatively safe. I mean, it could affect us if we go in a world digital currency, like the whole world. Do I think they would like that in an ideal world? Yes, I do. I reckon that if you looked at the globalist plan, and from what I've studied on the Learned Elders of Zion and the underground movement plans, and you study the Freemasonry plan for the New World Order, the plan was always by 2000 to have a New World Order. It didn't quite happen. So the next aim was 2020. That hasn't quite happened. But now they're going, I think, for 2030, but it'll be fully in place. So my feeling is that, they definitely would want to have, in an ideal world, they'd have a global currency that everyone's under. Do I think they'll pull it off? I think they'll get a lot of countries under it, but there's going to be countries that break away. And I reckon Australia's got 3 years to make up its mind. That's my feeling. And that's why, as well as the financial work, I do a lot of spiritual work to do warfare, teaching people their rights and all that kind of stuff. I think we've got 3 years where I think by 2025, you'll know which way all the countries are going to go. And I think so. I reckon we've got 3 years. That's my own opinion.
Absolutely. And everyone who's on this stream, I encourage you, get your friends, your family to start tuning in, follow the Global Wealth Club, start to educate yourself. It doesn't matter if they're, at the start of the journey or they're just whatever, if you want to call it waking up. We need to educate as many people as we can because education is power, okay? So let's have a look here. We've got a few questions in the comment box. Unfortunately, they weren't transferred over.
Yeah, well, just transfer them over just to follow it. And while you're doing that, how do you see the future of Victoria compared to other states? Someone asked. Would it be a good idea to leave? Look, I can't advise you to living, but there's no way. Oh, gosh, I know just about all my, awakened friends. I think Victoria's in major trouble for so many reasons. I don't know where to start. Much more than New South Wales, because New South Wales, I have noticed, is just from doing these webinars, a lot more people pushing back in New South Wales. And they're pushing back in many respects financially. They're pushing back with spiritual stuff. They're very open to the fact that we've majorly fucked it up by our way of living, and the government's not entirely to blame. It's the people as much as the government. New South Wales seem to get that really well. Whereas Victoria doesn't. I've found there's very few people in Victoria see that. Most Victorians, all you'll hear is Daniel Andrews is the Antichrist or whatever. So I think Victoria's got a lot of problems. And it's not just because of Dan Andrews. I think it's the people who live there. And I think Victoria's in a lot of trouble myself. If I were to be running for my life out of there, I could not imagine being in there. That's me. So I can't advise you where to leave or not. But I wouldn't be sparing a million years right now.
No, I'd be getting out as well. Why do you think the News Tonight Channel 9 bringing 2 million immigrant workers into Australia?
I kind of understand why they're doing it, because most Australians would prefer to do JobKeeper and stay home and not go out and work. So they're having I know cafes that are shutting down right now because they can't get staff in regional areas, and various fruit picking that are really concerned with their crops not having enough people. So I can understand why they're doing it. I mean, many of my most successful clients I've ever had were immigrants who came in, Vietnamese and other people who worked their asses off from virtually nothing, maybe worked as a family in fruit picking, built up their money, saved it up, bought a property. So a lot of immigrants actually come in, and if you get the right kind of immigrants, they come with a different mindset. So It depends on what kind of immigrants and why they're doing it. So as I say, that's one thing I understand why the government would be doing that, because there's such a labour shortage happening in Australia for so many reasons right now. So that's my comment on that.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, unfortunately, it's not allowing me to add it to the Q&A box, and neither the team. So I've just sold a property and I'm looking to purchase land. How can I make sure the money I have left is safe?
Yeah, I've already answered that before. So tomorrow night we'll be covering that.
Yeah, sorry, I'm just going down. All right.
Mark says, I know someone looking for a job, but every application requires double jab. Wow, that's interesting, Mark. It doesn't surprise me. But look, most businesses are just scared, like they're freaked out. And I mean, as it turns out, my natural paranoia and not trusting government in a million years and thinking everyone's an idiot, which about 3 years ago, I questioned whether maybe I'd missed out a lot of life by doing that. And I was a bit depressed for a while. Now I'm just very glad, because I've taken so much radical action for that reason, because just for that thing, that's why I moved all my businesses online. I set things up very much where I didn't depend on government being in a physical premises, because I thought I just don't trust anyone, and I don't. So
yeah, absolutely. Okay, so there was a comment up here as well. I heard today that the Vax employees may be able to take action against the employer for unsafe working conditions.
Yeah.
Having unvaxxed employees on the site. So the employer is liable for long-term damage of vaxxed employee if they allegedly were infracted by an I'm not sure what that means, by an unvaxxed employee. Yeah, okay. Yeah, it's happening. They're definitely setting things up where the businesses are doing all the dirty work for the government.
Yeah, they sure are.
That's literally what we're seeing. I believe, that they're going to try and mandate pretty much everywhere. I mean, that's the thing as well, Warren. Everyone's saying, I'll go get another job, but they're worried that they're going to mandate there as well. So it's a little bit tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
All right. So what else? I've had an inquiry who asked if we accept unvaccinated, and I said certainly. Do you have a business or something, Jarek? And anyway, if there's any further questions, please go ahead and ask. Warren, we always like to end the night with some, positive news as well, and always hope, because there always is hope, and there's a lot of us who want to take action. So if you want to say anything around, the Great Reset and all these things that are happening, but there will be good that comes out of this. So what is it good that you see that's honestly going to come out of this for our country and for our world?
Look, from what I can see, the world, if you read The Sovereign Individual, needs this, as crazy as it sounds. I mean, it's been unsustainable for a while, and having smaller sovereign communities where like-minded people can live together is a much better way to go. I mean, this whole ridiculous community we live in now, where you've got these people who want to jab everyone and these people who want to live free, it's unsustainable. So the worst thing we ever did, for example, was try to integrate, say, Aboriginal tribes and make them become like Westerners. And I mean, Aboriginals had an amazing connection to the land and their Dreamtime stuff, and have this really evolved kind of sense of being. And then we go, oh, no, we can make you like us. So the Aborigines know that, and that's why they have tribes and they have their groups and things like that. So the really good thing that will come out of it is people will get a lot more sovereign and empowered. I see right now we're heading into an age of extraordinary opportunities. Like, we're seeing opportunities for investment and creating wealth you never would see otherwise, but for what the times we're in. So we really are in some amazing times right now for opportunity. And if you're empowered, it's a good time to be alive. That's how I see it. If you're not empowered, it's a terrible time to be alive. Mm-hmm. So, the answer is get empowered, get your wealth protected, learn how to take advantage of opportunities, get good mentoring, get educated. I see us eventually coming out of this into a much better age where people will be more conscious, more awake. And in one of my events, Jasmin, I taught about the stage tier 6 consciousness that we're moving into, where generally in consciousness studies by Claire Graves and Ken Wilber, that to make a big shift in consciousness, you generally take a step back. So we're in a stage 5, drop back to stage 4 into a feudalism stage, and going back to stage 6. And stage 6 is a more conscious, social enterprise, benevolent, that kind of way of being. So next 10 years, we're heading into a much better place. But, you just got to, make sure you come out the end of it. by being well protected, having yourself ready, being flexible, adaptable, ready to move. So yeah, look, my experience with the last 2 years has been the best time of my life. It's the first time in my life I'm not actually sick. I've had health issues for years, which I don't have anymore. My business is booming. My life is going really, really well in every way. So because I've just been adaptable really quick. As soon as I saw the first signs of this, I just said I'm not troubling anymore. So if you're adaptable and make changes and go with the time and don't grieve about what's lost and focus on what is, you'll actually the positive news you can soar through this time is clients and people that we know and are working with are soaring through this time. And just more watching in astonishment what's going on. So there's a lot of light at the end, not only at the end of the tunnel, but right now in the tunnel, if you look and you've got the right guidance and you're around the right kind of people. But just don't let the social media be your news guide, and don't hang around idiots. It's that simple.
Yeah, if you need to disconnect from that to be able to plan and prepare, you need to be willing to let go of those things, because if they're not bringing good fruit in your life, they're not serving you and your purpose. And also, Warren, something you always mention, which I think is just good to remind people, that, you know, knowing your rights is extremely important right now. And also understanding I've got a mortgage, I've got credit cards, you know, understanding that there are certain, you know, things that they can put in place to talk to these banks and to talk to their mortgage brokers, etc., to go into financial hardship while they plan. So do you just want to talk a little bit more on that? It's just really important for people to understand that they always have a decision to make and they always have people to reach out to for assistance.
Can you just explain that again, Jasmin? So what are you asking, sorry?
So, you know, for example, if someone loses their job right now and they have a mortgage, which will be quite a few people.
Oh, yes.
It's time to re-engage with your banks, go into financial hardship, understand that they cannot take your house off you right away. You know, if you've got credit cards, you need to make payment plans, really just to bring down your expenses, take some time out and really start to plan and prepare if you're in that situation.
Oh, absolutely correct. Yep. So, yeah, look, basically, if you can't pay your mortgage, I've been in that situation before. I mean, I've been in severe hardship and I didn't just pay mortgage. I had everyone up my ass for money because I went broke in the business. And you're amazed at how much ability you got to hold off creditors, to restructure your finances, insolvency options, to actually wipe out the debt without being bankrupt. There's a lot of things you can actually do. So the main thing is to stay calm, just, make your decisions and just realize it can be a good wake-up call to start making an income for yourself that really is doing something that you enjoy doing. Like I know people who have lost their job because of this, but they now actually said at the time it was devastating, but best thing we ever did. We're now doing stuff we want to be doing. So we're enjoying life more. We're out doing stuff. We're starting a new business, a new job, everything. So I'm part of a Perfect Wake business community online. There's so many people joining it daily, and people are looking for awake staff and everything. So there's so many opportunities. You just got to be adaptable and realize the Industrial Revolution. The main reason that people got hurt by that is that most people wanted to hold on to their factory jobs. You know, those who accepted what happened evolved with the times. So that's really my comment there. So if you're in that situation, don't let it freak you out. It can take a long time for the bank to take your house off you, and there's hardship, there's ombudsman, everything. So
also, just for tomorrow, people are asking about the link. So that will just be on the Global Wealth Club Facebook page.
Yep, absolutely. Yep, on the Global Wealth Club Facebook. And also we've got this live event on the 23rd, which I really encourage. All your questions will be answered that and more, not just by me, but by Stephen Pettit, who somebody's taught the last events, an amazing global protection specialist who's very familiar with resets and sovereignty and is a mentor for me and many other people. I've got a Singaporean expert on gold who runs a massive company where high net worth people in Europe are storing gold and protecting wealth through overseas vehicles that are very well secured. So, come along to that and make sure, and we'll just put the link in the chat for you to sign up if you're interested in coming to that event. So, the link's just been put there now. So if you're going to be coming to that event, just say yes. If you're already signed up, say yes. If you're going to be coming, just type coming. Like if you're going to come along to this, then after the day, just type coming.
Yes, good. Also, to take note for those who are in Perth, we still have a few seats left for the Perth actual event live at the Pan Pacific. Would love to have you there. It's really nice when we get together. We'll also have a bit of a dinner afterwards together. And yes, Warren will be there at the table with us. So that would be really great. So if you are in Perth and you would love to come, you just purchase the live ticket on that link. And I'll be reaching out to you prior to make sure you don't have any other dietary requirements. We'll look after you. But thanks so much for everyone letting us know that you're coming. We're really looking forward to it.
Wonderful.
And when you are online, you can still ask questions. We'll still be really interactive with you. So it's going to be fabulous.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Jasmin, and thank you everyone for coming. Look forward to seeing you next time.
Yeah, we look forward to seeing you all. Thank you. Take care of yourselves, and we will see you next week and tomorrow evening on live.
To kick the habit that my mind is breathing in.